walked into the elevator, and never came out again. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button, because this case will make you afraid of something as normal as riding an elevator. The disappearance of 27-year-old Lena Morris wasn't just strange, it was impossible. And like most impossible things, it began on an ordinary day. Thursday, November 4th. A calm, crisp evening in Brookline Heights, a quiet apartment district just outside Chicago. People walked their dogs, porch lights flickered on, and the sound of traffic slowly faded into the background. Nothing hinted that this night would later become one of the most watched and debated true crime mysteries online. At 8:13 p.m., Lena pushed open the glass door of her apartment building, her tote bag slung over her shoulder, her hair slightly damp from the light drizzle outside. She lived on the 5th floor in apartment 5B, a modest, comfortable unit she had moved into only 9 months earlier. Cameras captured her entering the lobby, pausing to shake water off her jacket, and then heading straight toward the elevator. The footage showed nothing unusual about her behavior. She wasn't on her phone, she wasn't looking over her shoulder, and she didn't appear nervous. Investigators later confirmed she wasn't being followed. Everything seemed exactly how it should be. At 8:14 p.m., Lena pressed the elevator button. The doors slid open smoothly. She stepped inside, turned around, and selected her floor. She shifted her bag to her other shoulder and exhaled the way people do after a long day. The elevator doors began to close. And then, something subtle happened. In the footage, Lena's expression changed. Not dramatically, not in a way that screamed danger, but in a way that suggested she had heard something. Her eyebrows lifted slightly. Her head shifted to the right. Her stance stiffened just a fraction. She seemed to be listening. But there was no audio. And whatever she reacted to was never identified. At 8:14 and 12 seconds p.m., the elevator began rising. At 8:14 and 27 seconds p.m., the doors opened on the 5th floor. The elevator was empty. No Lena. No struggle. No sign she ever stepped out. Just an empty metal box and a hallway wrapped in eerie stillness. The building's hall camera showed no movement. The stairwell camera showed no one entering or leaving. The rooftop access door was locked. Maintenance logs showed no service workers present. And Lena's apartment keycard, which she always kept clipped to her bag, was never scanned. When Lena didn't show up to work the next morning, her manager called the police. They arrived at the building by noon, reviewed the footage, and immediately realized the case was going to be far from routine. The elevator was stopped and inspected. No signs of malfunction. No side doors. No ceiling panel disturbance. No crawlspace access without special tools. The emergency hatch hadn't been touched. But when the repair technician opened the top of the elevator ceiling panel, he paused. A long scratch ran across the metal, fresh enough that the edges still gleamed silver under the flashlight. The scratch looked like it had been made recently. And from inside the elevator, not outside. When this detail was released, the case spread across social media like wildfire. Online communities created frame-by-frame breakdowns. People speculated about hidden shafts, secret exits, or something else entirely. But the most chilling moment came when police enhanced the elevator footage. Just 2 seconds before the screen showed Lena looking to the right, a faint, nearly invisible flicker appeared on the metal wall behind her. The flicker shaped like a shadow. But not hers. And the investigation was only beginning. Detective Alan Rourke stared at the paused elevator footage, leaning close enough to the monitor that his breath fogged the screen. He wasn't a man easily shaken. 28 years in law enforcement had hardened him, made him skeptical of the sensational theories that went viral online. But this case, this one felt different. Not supernatural, not impossible, just wrong in a way he couldn't name yet. He replayed the 11 seconds where Lena stood in the elevator. Frame by frame. Pause. Scrub back. Pause again. "What do you see?" asked Officer Daniels from behind him. "Not sure," Rourke muttered. But watched the reflection on the back panel. They watched as Lena shifted her bag, exhaled, and relaxed her posture. Everything normal. Then, the faint flicker, the vague shape gliding across the metal behind her, gone in less than a second. "Probably a camera glitch," Daniels said. "Maybe," Rourke replied. But his voice didn't sound convinced. He turned to the building manager, who had been hovering nervously near the doorway. "I need full access to the elevator maintenance room. And every scrap of footage from this building, past 2 weeks." The manager swallowed hard. "Detective, there's something you should see first." He led them down a narrow hallway behind the lobby, to a locked metal door that required a code and a key. Inside was the building's maintenance control room, a tight space filled with electrical boxes, dusty file cabinets, and the elevator's mechanical control panel. Last night, the manager said quietly, one of the residents filed a noise complaint. Noise complaint? Rourke repeated. From the 5th floor hallway. Around 8:20 p.m. Said she heard banging. Metal on metal. Like someone hitting the wall of the elevator shaft. Rourke stared at him. Why wasn't this reported earlier? The manager looked down. Because when I checked, there was nothing there. Show me, Rourke demanded. They climbed the stairs to the 5th floor. The hallway was narrow, lined with identical off-white apartment doors, soft lighting and thin gray carpet. Everything looked ordinary. Where exactly? Rourke asked. The manager pointed to a section of wall directly across from the elevator doors. Rourke pressed his palm against it. Cold. Solid. He crouched, running his flashlight along the baseboards. Then he saw it. A thin line of gray dust that had fallen from the wall, fresh, uneven. Almost like the inside of the wall had been disturbed. His stomach tightened. Something had happened here. Daniels leaned in. Detective, look at this. He pointed toward the tiny gap where the elevator door met the hallway floor. Something dark was stuck in the corner, barely visible. Rourke pulled a pair of gloves from his pocket and carefully pinched the object out. A piece of fabric. Less than half an inch long. The color? Deep navy blue, the same color as the cardigan Lena was wearing in the footage. Send this to the lab, Rourke said. Now. While Daniels bagged the evidence, Rourke stood up slowly, staring at the elevator like it was holding secrets behind its brushed steel face. The doors opened with a soft chime. The empty interior reflected back at him. He stepped inside. The moment the doors closed, the silence was suffocating. The faint hum of machinery vibrated through the walls. He pressed the button for the 5th floor. As the elevator rose, he ran his fingers along the back panel. Smooth. Clean. Then his hand paused. A small indentation, barely noticeable. A dent. Was on the inside. At shoulder height. Like someone had hit it from within. He measured the distance. Exactly where Lena had been standing. A chill crept down his spine. Daniels finally spoke. Detective, how does someone disappear from a sealed elevator? Rourke didn't answer. Because at that moment the elevator jerked. Not a full stop, just a sudden, unnatural jolt, like something had shifted on top of the car. Rourke looked up. The overhead panel rattled, just once. Something or someone had moved above him. And whatever it wasn't gone. The overhead panel rattled again, louder this time, and Detective Rourke stepped back instinctively. The elevator continued climbing toward the 6th floor, humming like nothing was wrong, but Rourke could feel it. Something was above the car. Something alive. Or at least, something that had moved recently. When the doors opened on the 6th floor, Rourke slipped out and immediately pressed the emergency stop button on the wall control panel, freezing the elevator between floors. If anything, or anyone, was hiding atop the car, they were now trapped. Daniels rushed up the stairwell moments later, breathing hard. Detective Lab's on the phone. That fabric we found? It's a direct match for Lena's sweater. Rourke nodded grimly. Then she made it to the 5th floor. She didn't vanish inside the elevator, she was taken out of it. But how? Daniels whispered. The doors were closed. No forced entry. No hidden exits. Rourke looked at the elevator shaft door, a plain metal panel most residents never noticed. There's only one way, he said. Someone opened the shaft, from the inside. They pried the access door open using a special building key from the manager. A gust of cool, dusty air rushed out. The elevator hung one floor below them, frozen in place. Nothing about the scene looked normal. The maintenance lights flickered unevenly, casting long shadows across the steel beams. Then they saw it. Footprints. On top of the elevator car. Small ones. Bare footprints. Rourke felt his pulse hammer. She was up here. A trail of faint dusty prints led across the elevator roof and disappeared behind a maintenance pipe. Flashlight, Rourke said sharply. Daniels handed him one, and as Rourke aimed the beam downward, he spotted a small object wedged between two panels. He reached down, pulled it free and felt a twist in his stomach. It was Lena's keycard, the one for her apartment. Scratch. Bet. Like she had tried to use it for something. Daniel's voice trembled. Detective, do you think she climbed out of the elevator herself? Rourke shook his head slowly. Or someone pulled her out. He followed the trail of footprints to the far side of the shaft, then stopped cold. A metal maintenance ladder ran up the shaft wall, but halfway up, there was something smeared across the rung. Dust, disturbed in a way that suggested a struggle. As if someone had been dragged upward. He swallowed hard. Call for backup. Now. Within minutes, firefighters and maintenance workers had arrived to help navigate the upper levels of the shaft. The building manager insisted that no one had used the upper maintenance access in months. It was supposed to remain locked. But when they reached the 7th floor access hatch, the lock was broken. Not from the outside. From within. Rourke pushed the hatch open and climbed into the narrow crawl space. It was low enough that he had to crouch. The air was stale. The only sound was the soft buzz of electrical cables running along the walls. Detective. Daniels called from behind him. Over here. Rourke turned his flashlight toward the far corner of the crawlspace. There was something on the floor. Something small. Something blue. He crawled closer and froze. It was Lena's cardigan. Neatly folded. Not torn. Not discarded. Folded, like someone placed it there intentionally. Rourke lifted it slowly, his breath catching when he saw what was underneath. A small notebook. Black cover. No markings. He opened it. Inside were names, dozens of them. Dates. Apartments. Times of day. Notes like elevator alone, follows pattern, quiet at night, and a chilling phrase repeated every few pages. Take them between floors. Rourke's hands shook. This wasn't an accident. Not a malfunction. Not a glitch. Someone had been using the elevator shafts for months. Watching residents. Choosing targets. Waiting for the exact moment when no one else was around. And Lena, I was just the latest. Daniels whispered, Detective, where do we go from here? Rourke stared at the notebook, the evidence of a predator hiding inside ordinary life, and felt a dark certainty settle in his chest. We don't stop, he said quietly. Not until we find whoever did this. But as he closed the notebook, a cold breeze drifted through the crawlspace, impossible in a sealed area. And from somewhere deeper in the shadows above them, something moved. Slowly. Deliberately. As if it had been listening the entire time. The case wasn't closed. It was just beginning.